Hello. Well, today we're going to talk about different strategies, different representations. How do we kind of connect those different strategies as we're doing that? And really, what I wanted to talk about today was maybe a different version of the way we might look at that, a different perspective of the way you might look at that. A while back, I was reading through some NCTM publications, and since then, I've kind of noticed this image come up quite a bit, and it's the image of multiple strategies, and a visual image, and with words, and with equations, and with models. And it's the image that has all of the arrows pointing to different things. And really what stuck out to me in this one particular article that I was reading was that the math research, the science of math as we're looking into this, is really looking at saying it's not just that we want students to use multiple representations. It's not that we want to say, okay, you could solve it this way, or you could solve it this way, or you could solve it this way, and all of these different ideas are great, and any way you solve it is great. It's not just that. It's actually the little arrows in between, the little arrows in between the models, the little arrows in between the different representations. The arrows are what actually makes the learning. It's the connecting multiple strategies to each other. And the science of math kind of talks about looking through saying, what we want to do is we want to say, okay, how does a student naturally think about solving a problem? How does a student's mind naturally kind of come into this? And we want to take that knowledge, we want to take the knowledge that they have, and we want to actively connect that to other knowledge that maybe they don't have yet, or other strategies maybe they don't have yet. So as we're thinking about solving problems, I might present a problem to a student and saying, solve it any way you want. Start off that way, let them explore the problem, let them kind of get into it. But then as we move on, saying, hey, you have an answer, you have a solution. That's a really great way of thinking about it. How does that relate to another solution strategy? How does your answer or your solution strategy of making a model, or maybe I made a table, how does that relate to an equation? How does that equation relate to a graph? And it's the little arrows in between that I very actively want students to be making those connections. Because the science of math says the more connections we make, the more long-term retention we have, the more understanding we actually have. And by making those connections, really we're not teaching distinctly different ideas. We're not saying, hey, here's one strategy, here's another strategy, here's another strategy. There's three different ways we can do it. What we're actually doing is saying, here are three different ways of doing it, but they're all related to each other, and we can build off of those ideas. We can build off of the successes. Really, it's an asset-based way of thinking about doing it. So as we're thinking about solution strategies and thinking about having students solve problems, if you present problems in the way where we say, hey, solve it any way you want, we want to embrace that. We want to accept that and acknowledge that. But then we want to say, okay, let's look at that and say, how does that relate to another idea? Really focusing on just those arrows to say, okay, what are those connections? I do want to be careful here as we're doing this. We don't want to really tell students, hey, this is a more effective or a more efficient way of doing this, because sometimes when it kind of comes out that way, what I'm doing is minimizing the way they started. So instead of saying, hey, you solved it this way, this is a more efficient way of solving it, I might just want to say it, you solved it this way, how does that relate to this other way? Which one do you like better now that we had that conversation? Which one do you think could be helpful? Or why might one solution strategy be more beneficial at this time versus another time? So as you're looking at different strategies, looking at different representations, really focus on the arrows and say, okay, are we making those connections? Am I having students make those connections, whether it's through turn and talks, whether it's through writing, whether it's through processing, whatever that is. But we really want to have those connections being made so that students can begin to learn that new content. Let me know how that works out for you. I'm really excited for it. That's a piece that I've been working on for many years, looking at this and really helping educators to make those connections, really helping students to make those connections. And it's been extremely effective for retention of new knowledge. So again, let me know how that works out for you, and have a great day all. Bye.